Welcome, everybody, to the Natural Born Hunter podcast brought to you by Mountain Ops. Mountain Ops is a supplement company that specializes in the needs of the hunter. If you need a little more protein in your diet, boom, hit up the Magnum. 3 different sources of protein in there, so it absorbs in your body at different points in time, making it last longer so you can get stronger. You can also check out their Yeti Pre-Workout, perfect for hitting max lifts, PRs, getting your head in the game, and getting after it. They also have Enduro for those of you who are a little more cardio based in your workouts, looking to charge hard for long hours at a time. Without further ado, let's fire this puppy up. I'll give you some background on Jake. He is a former Chippendales dancer who happens to have guided a sheep hunt to get the largest sheep in California.
Really?
I got that all correct, right?
Yeah, I mean, you cut some of the corners, but essentially the information was right on point.
Oh, how big a sheep was it?
He doesn't even care how many corners were cut. Directly, how big was the sheep?
Or how long I danced for, nothing.
Hey, man, you know, us dancers got to stick together. So that stuff's a different brotherhood, right? But no, I'm just kidding.
But he did ask how big the sheep was.
Yes.
It was 187-inch desert.
Wow. How long ago was that?
2011.
Gee.
Yeah.
Jake's a sheep guide. He guides a bunch of sheep hunts.
Big ram.
Right.
Yeah, been fortunate.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Are we, so did you guys start it all, Will, or you just?
We dicked around basically for half an hour, and then
But
I cut the feed just so people had something to listen to. But now we'll go in with a brand new. This will be a brand new reboot. We're rebooting.
Oh, okay.
This is chapter 2. The good. This is where it starts getting good. That was like the foreword to the novel.
It's one of those It's one of those books that has 400 chapters, and every chapter is a 6-page.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here's the thing. We have our most direct competitors. Some of them have very cut and professionally they do real good editing and professionally produced stuff. And we're more like, listen, we're just going to go in there and give it all we got, hit it as hard as we can, and just let magic happen, record it all, and edit nothing, cut nothing.
Well, essentially, video in that kind of format, it is better when it's left to its own device, right? Better when it's down and dirty. That's the way I see it. Cut through all the crap, right?
We're trying to make art. Here, you know. And some people
have an
don't.
Open conversation, right?
Yeah, some people just don't appreciate the art form.
Yeah. Well, I've been interviewed quite a few times at this point by a lot of people that are fairly unprepared or over-prepared. So I'm actually interested to see if you've done any freaking research whatsoever, or whether you're going to freestyle this the whole way along and ask me questions about skateboarding without any basis or understanding of it.
You don't even know how many Netflix documentaries I have watched on skateboarding. I actually finished one a couple weeks ago.
Well, you made the first carnal mistake as you bought a shoe out. And
no.
That's a Vans shoe.
All right, here we
and
go.
You bought out a Nike Dunk in camouflage.
Okay, let's look at this, though. Let's look at this. On a level of sexiness,
You pretty much slapped me in the face. You do realize that, right?
But this is a lesson. I'm teaching you a lesson, Jeff. You may be some great shoe designer who, brought the resurgence of a separate style of footwear back to skateboarding, where people, I guess, like to feel a skateboard. But for, people who just want to look good in a really cool camouflage set of Nikes, this is the perfect shoe. How many Nikes do you know of, or other shoes you know of, that come in Realtree AP?
Currently, not very many.
No, not
Probably
enough.
in the Bass Pro Shop or one of those spots, right?
Actually, I think something happened and Nike no longer has any Realtree AP Dunks in production. I had to get those on eBay. And
you know what? I'm sure they looked through just a random swatch book of available fabrics and went, that's the one right there.
And that's why we got you. That's why I got you tonight. This was all just an elaborate scheme to
keep it real, or to get me fired from Vans. Which one?
No, here's why. Because I need you to go to Vans, and I need you to say, Vans, you guys, I know you started as a boat shoe company, and then you worked your way into skateboarding and just some really cool looking shoes. And then I came up with this idea for the vulcanized rubber to go back into skateboarding shoes. And now I got another revolutionary idea that's going to take this company even further.
And
My
it's
buddy
real
Will
treatment.
Bradley would like us to introduce some camouflage shoes to our lineup. Just
It's
that
the
shoe
latest
and like some cool, like, I don't care if I know you're a Kuiu fan. You can put it in Kuiu. Maybe we could put it in like the First Light XD. Maybe even like a cryptic Mandrake. You know, just some really
So you
sweet
think
patterns.
the next move in street fashion is taking the latest camouflage pants that actually do their job and putting them on kid shoes to wear in the street?
How did all this mountaineering clothing like North Face get into the street?
Product development.
Exactly. And if only mountaineers wore these clothing lines, they wouldn't be doing so good, would they?
It's arguable that, man, I almost got myself in trouble right there. See, that's the problem with going off the record real quick.
Jake's saying this. Jake is now saying all of these things.
No, I had to bite my tongue because the company that owns Vans owns North Face.
That's
So,
right.
Be very careful.
So what did I miss? What do you work for Vans, Jeff?
I'm a skateboarder, pro skateboarder.
So are you sponsored by them? Then is that what?
Sponsored by them. I've had like
Okay.
signature product with them since 1998, and I've worked very closely with the brand on a bunch
R&D.
Yeah, and I've worked firsthand on all of my product and on some other product for the brand since then, since 98. So I've always kind of worked directly on product along with being a skateboarder. I was interested in it because the thing with that is it's much like, hunting. You buy some guys like one kind of rifle, some guys swear on another brand. But if that guy has to use that brand all year round, like if Jake gives me a rifle, it's a Remington, and I can only use Remington, and my arms are short and all the Remingtons are freaking built stockier and bigger, that's going to be a tough battle, right?
Sure.
And then if you throw your name on it and you don't even use it, so it's kind of that where like I've skateboarded since I was 12 years old, and I power through product, meaning I just smash it and rip it and break it and everything. And when I do signature product, I might have to wear a style of shoe for 3 straight years, one model. So if it gives me blisters, or if I can't hit the target every go,
Sure.
So I took more of an active role in it because I actually, otherwise it ends up being product I can't kind of put my name behind or support, or doesn't stand the test of time, or hasn't had enough time to like test it out to see if it even works. So
that's cool to hear, man. Just because we've talked on the subject of representing companies in the past, more so from a startup level where people just want to be a part of something, just to say that they're part of a team, and they don't care if they've ever used the product before. They just want to say they're part of a team.
Yeah.
To hear somebody on the flip side to say, look, I am part of this team, but because I am part of that team, we need to work together to make it the best product, because like you said, you're not selling yourself, you're helping sell the product, and you're helping ensure that what you're using is beneficial to yourself as well as from a sales perspective.
Yeah. You also, the customer, with all product, all outdoor product,
Sure.
all street product, you owe the customer a certain quality, number one. But number two, you also, with product that's performance product, like your Kuiu fabrics and Kuiu gear, or whether it's Vans, boots for skateboarding, or whatever it is, if you're going to say that's the best that there is, and you don't know if it's the best, then you're lying. If it's not your name on it and you're lying.
Well, that's even more so, right? But I made that same.
What I like to call a douche.
Yeah.
I made that similar. What you just said, I said it on another podcast very similarly. If you don't know if it's the best, and you're just because somebody's giving you something and you're saying it's the best, it carries no weight. It carries no clout. And there's certain things that are arguable because there's products that are arguably competitive and side by side. One's potentially as good as another, and that's an arguable thing based off comfort, based off of fit.
How a guy might sweat, like if you're talking about like hunting equipment or hunting gear.
Sure.
Some guys like certain fabrics because whatever, they breathe well in that, and some guys can't wear that same fabric.
Yep.
Like that with some of the fabrics, some of the stuff that I use, I absolutely swear by it, and other stuff I don't like.
Sure.
And other people say the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, so it is personal. Same with
Boots.
with boots and stuff. I mean, if you want to look at my ankles, I've broke both my ankles a couple of times and had surgery, like multiple surgeries. My ankles are like that, just from like build up of just bone and scar tissue and mess. So certain boots and certain just kill my feet.
Sure.
And then my feet are generally. It's never good to talk about feet, man.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
You should give up skateboarding, bro. That sounds like a dangerous sport.
It can be. It can be. You're fighting concrete for a living. You're attacking concrete for a living, so that catches up to you.
So
You know.
I want to go back to this a little though, because Jeff's being a little modest. From the research, a little bit I did, I discovered Jeff is the reason. No, I can't go. Is that a cut?
What's that? No, that was me just having fun.
I was gonna say maybe I am going somewhere that's really gonna get him into trouble, discovering things.
Got a lot of knives in this building.
At one time in Malaysia.
I'll go
Anyways, so Jeff is the reason that. Do you remember back in like it must have been the late '90s? The skate shoes were kind of big, kind of like pillows on your feet.
me? You asking
Yeah.
me a question?
Yeah, you.
I'm not into skateboarding in the least bit, so I'm just listening and learning. So
Alright.
shoot,
Well,
man.
Well, these shoes, even for those of us who didn't skateboard but may have worn some to just look cool, kind of like these sweet Nike Dunks I got here. Jeff's the
Nike
reason they went from big and puffy.
Sheet or sweet?
Sheet.
I like Jeff. So he's the reason they switched to the thinner, more able to feel your board style of shoes. He was the proponent of that. Kind of reminds me of like, any of you guys ever follow skiing, like big mountain skiing at all? No one here? All right, I'll be on my own with this one. But for those of our listeners who do listen to or follow big mountain skiing, there was a moment in skiing where Shane McConkey told his sponsor company, listen, we need to make skis for powder more like water skis. And they're like, nobody believed him. So what he did is he took him up to a pair of water skis up to Alaska and ripped this huge line down the side of the mountain on the water skis. And everyone was like, all right, you might be onto something.
Heavy.
And that's what changed him. It was that moment of brilliance.
Responsibility, though. That comes back to if you're making product and and you're part of the development process. It comes back to your responsibility to push the boundaries of what's possible with that fabric or that product, whatever it is, whether it's a gun, a knife, or whatever it is. I think as a brand and a business, it's your duty to continue to push the possibilities of manufacturing from fabric all the way through to production and all the way through to your end consumer. That's the way I feel about it, and that's not always possible with every product. Like changing the ball on a firearm is a very expensive ordeal. If you want to start a firearms company, you need a lot of money behind you and a bunch of lawyers. But yeah, it's important, super important.
I'm kind of interested in that. When was there a certain moment in time where you were just like, these shoes that we have now, they're not it. They're not what they should be. Was there a moment where the light bulb just went off?
I quit working for another company and took a 50% pay cut and didn't ride for anybody for 3 months. And I went into Vans and made a deal with them and just took what I could get from them because they weren't in the best shape at that time. I didn't want to work with any other company in the whole industry. I didn't like anyone's product, which is weird, for a kid. You grow up and you think all these brands are like the bee's knees and everything, but when you see the backside of it and you realize that some of them aren't anything special, and I didn't like what anyone was pumping out at all. Not only just for skating, for anything. I thought they were junk. A lot that was available at that time. So I was kind of in disarray. I wasn't confident at all that what I was doing was the right thing. I just did it and kind of drew up the product that needed to be made and then fought for it for a year to get it manufactured. They manufactured it and still it was no, it's not going to work. Like you got to realize, like imagine if And Vans at that time was probably still, it's almost $3 billion in business, right, in sales right now. And it's grown at $1 billion a year pretty much the last 2 years. It's massive growth, huge growth. Huge growth. But then they were still probably a few hundred, 300, 400 million or something like that. And I went in there and wanted to make a product, which is their shoes. It's a shoe brand. And used a logo that they hadn't used for many, many, many years. They used a construction that they couldn't sell and wasn't selling at that time. And I used all of their logos. It'd be like taking the Nike swoosh and putting that back on the Nike shoe, and no one's used it for years. I had to fight with the president at the time and people, and to actually make the manufacturer. So it wasn't confident. It wasn't an easy thing. And when they did it, it didn't sell straight away neither. And because the marketplace just didn't know what came out. It came at them from sideways, and it took a year before people realized that, that's actually better for skateboarding than what's out there right now. And you're getting a better quality product, and a product that you'd never got from Vans prior to that, because they never had they didn't really update that construction until that point. So they didn't become comfortable until one of those first models, 98, 99. And then the year after they started to sell super good. So then the whole company kind of like grew from there, and they just opened up all of the SKU counts for all of the vulcanized shoes, which is what they're well known for now. But that DNA was already there. I didn't do that. I just was instrumental in kind of reinventing that wheel because it needed to be done. And you fight those battles, sometimes you lose too, But, I've had a fair amount of experience working with product and marketing and everything. And, that's one of the reasons why I started this knife brand. I started a knife brand about 2.5, almost 3 years ago, because I thought that everything that was available on the market was boring. I'm probably sounding to say that word, but boring. It was boring. I thought all the branding, everything they were doing, I thought was just bland and flat. And I thought 90% of the product wasn't that great. Now, that doesn't mean I can't walk in the door and make a product, and the first year making it, I'm making the best knife anyone's ever seen in their life. I'm not naive to the fact that takes time to build those relationships with vendors, and also an understanding of the manufacturing process that goes into making knives and tools. So, it's ground zero, but that's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to start knife companies, because it gives me more of an excuse to spend more time in the outdoors, and I've been guiding a little bit last couple of years for Jake. Jake's just throwing me in the deep end with sheep hunts and tule elk hunts, and so I've been helping Jake guide with almost zero experience doing that, but I've spent every working hour free that I have in the local mountains and the desert trying to educate myself. And having a knife and tool brand that allows me to go and do that, because it's part of that business, is a freaking great deal for me. Right?
That works out pretty well. Come up with a company.
My goodness, it sounds great. Let's do this. If I could spend every day out in the field and going out and doing that, I would. And so. Yeah. Anyway, is that enough fluff in my balls?
No, a little bit more. A little bit more. It doesn't hurt. I got. This is something I'm kind of curious about, right? Do you remember the first time you saw someone copycat that first design, that Vans shoe? Do you remember the first person to do it?
Yeah. Down in China. I was on a tour in China, and they had the exact same shoe, and I think it had somebody else's name, some random word, the logo backwards or something like that, and then I think it said V-Wans on it, V-I-W-A-N-S on the fucking tongue, and it's the exact same shoe. They basically taken, what they do with that is that there's a back door in all those factories, right? Like kind of a piece of fabric gets stamped, it's a little crooked or whatever, or that piece of suede isn't that good, it goes in a box. Well, that box disappears out the back door, and then somebody's mother makes a label, and then it's in the local sporting goods store somewhere in the middle of nowhere in China. It's my goal in life, is to take out the copycat freaking market. No.
You got the knives to do it, right?
Yeah, we got enough to throw that way.
There you go.
I don't know if we could cover enough ground, but we could give it a shot.
What do you got some of those knives there with you now?
I do actually. We have one right here, but
That's nice.
which is basically just a slim line kind of liner lock with a very, very thick blade on it, and kind of a 3-inch blade, 3.5-inch handle. And that's just a basic liner lock, and then
Low
we
profile
spent
pocket clip.
low profile pocket clip. You barely feel it in your pocket, and kind of G10 handle with textured for grip. But yeah, we do a few, and we just spent the last year building, like last 8-9 months, building a machine shop, which is where we're at right now. If we go in the door that's right there, there's a full machine shop with machines everywhere, and we only just started to finish full production knives in the last couple of days, basically. So we're building up inventory before we launch our in-house knives, which are 100% sourced in the US and manufactured in the US. 100%. Every piece of metal, every component has been sourced and cut, either in this shop or somewhere in this country. And that's not something we can do on every single product that we do, because we're a tiny little company trying to figure out how to make the best knives. And you don't out unless you throw yourself in and go at it. So we've spent the last 9 months figuring out how to do that. How do we do that? And so we're just finishing off. We just finished the first ones yesterday. I'll show you this brown one because it'll probably show up. It's actually no one's ever actually seen this. This is the first time anyone's actually seen this.
I like it.
This is a friction folder. It's titanium on this side, like solid titanium. And on this side, it's G10 textured. You can't even feel the dang knife, right? And it's a friction folder. So it stays open on friction, Basically, you put your thumb down, it's not going to close up on it. Or you put your finger in there, it can open if you push down. But it's basically a pocket knife. And the razor blade steel is AEBL, so it's a similar steel to what gets used for razor blades, except it's a little thicker and probably sharper than most razor blades too. So what you have is pretty much the lightest little pocket knife. A simple locking mechanism. If you want to clean this out, that's how easy it is to clean out in the field. You just put a brush through it, and clean it out. And that'll cut as good as any scalpel. Arguably. Right? But arguably, but the steel is a comparable properties to a razor blade steel, but it's a pocket knife. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit thicker. So it's not going to replace a scalpel for skinning animals. That's not what this is. This is a pocket knife.
That's a great looking knife.
But we just finished making these right now. And so, like I said, they'll be coming out in the next month or two, once we've built up enough inventory. But it's fun. I love doing it, and we go out in the field and we always use knives and we always have that stuff around, but we make other stuff too. We're not a clothing company. We make hats and some t-shirts for fun and stuff.
I like the clothing though too, so don't just start not making clothing, all right?
We make clothing through Vans, but we don't really make clothing. We support Kuiu for our outdoor gear. That's what we use exclusively, is Kuiu gear. I love Kuiu's merino wool. I think it's the best that there is out there. So we use all of their stuff and for clothing. See, cut down on you. I know you, but you do have an idea, right? You said you had an idea.
Well, hey, everybody makes mistakes, but it's fine. I just your balls.
Are you a first light? Are you his first?
I like a lot of the Carhartt.
That's the first light. That's ASAC camo.
Yeah, this one is.
Yeah.
We wear just about everything,
Yeah.
we can get our hands on. I actually, up around here, I wear a lot of Carhartts just because I haven't been able to afford any nice hunting clothing. So it's really what I wear to work that keeps me warm. I'm wearing in the tree stand to keep me warm. But we do have I have a little Cryptek, little First Light. Phil's gets, he's the big deal out there in Colorado. He gets anything he wants.
Yeah.
I do have an idea for pants. Let's just go over all my ideas right now so we can get those out of the way. Phil, why are you shaking your head no? Don't shake your head no at me. I got it.
Don't go through all of them. I think that's what
I've heard most of his ideas, guys.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
Here's what I got. Okay. You need a pair of pants that has a little bit of stretch to it, but also, you know how like Carhartt or Duluth and some of these mountain khakis make double, like the double front legs?
Yeah.
All right. I want the some brush resistant stuff for like bird hunting on the front.
I think Filson make those.
No, they don't. They make, yeah. There's a lot of places with the brush resistant hunting pants, but no one's that makes like a mountaineering style pant with also the briar resistant material.
I thought you were saying layer it over the top. You were saying actually have the stretch in the knee space, so you have the durability on the upper parts of your legs and lower parts, but then you can bend.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Yeah, you could do that. It would look a little funky.
Dude,
You'd look like a fireman.
The funkier it looks, the more people wear it.
Maybe. In Germany, when you're talking about blue camouflage, absolutely.
Phil missed this earlier. Geoff turned me on to that in Germany, it is cool to wear the blue camouflage.
On the street.
On the streets.
Not out hunting.
The blue camo, just like a multi-cam, just kind of just the generic camo.
Like the pink one that they do for ladies.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff too. But the blue one.
Like the pink one, but the blue one.
That's a fantastic idea. I think you should put that into production.
I would if anyone would just give me the money to do it. Geoff, you got any money lying around?
That's very, very similar to, see how I brushed over that one really quick? But there's Chuck Norris in the 70s. Very similar concept, but in the crotch. Crotch gusset that was stretch, and then the rest of the pant was just no stretching. It was just solid denim, so that he could do his high kicks without splitting his pants, so his balls wouldn't fall out.
We're a pair of chaps, man. What's the difference, right?
That too. That's
just
right.
Thong and some chaps.
Jake and Phil are used to wearing chaps out on the dance floor. They can tell y'all all about it.
It's great till you turn around. I'm out of here. Too much. Unless you're my woman, and then it's okay. We won't go into that.
All right, so we're nixing the pant idea.
Yeah.
And does that mean we're nixing the Vans with different kinds of camo on them idea too?
I think that already got shut down. Yeah.
You can't like talk to Kuyu, anybody get some cool looking camo on their shoes.
That's a weird. It is a weird crossover when you have like big brands, whoever it is, kind of using camouflage on like streetwear or fashion and that's a huge part of the business probably for some of those, for a Realtree and a Mossy Oak, people licensing their fabrics and using it on stuff that is not what it was designed essentially for, you know. But you see that a lot, but you don't see a lot of people doing it with the younger camouflage brands, which in my opinion are a lot more effective in the field. The ones that you already mentioned, your First Lights and your Kuyu and your other brands that are out there kind of pushing the boundaries of like product for hunters and the outdoor space. I think that's amazing because there was this huge, like with your Realtrees and your Mossy Oaks, I mean, not as diverse as, you know, you would always have wanted them to be. And my favorite camo before that was Predator, which is very similar to your ASAT that you're wearing, right? Like a similar kind of breakup. You know, you break it up, you've done the job, you know, but for the most part. You know, because you're basically a star out there in the field. You know, you're a pale-shaped star that moves very erratically and noisily, you know. So we need all the help that we can get, but it starts with stuff not being able to see you. So I'm okay with them using Realtree on your Nike Air Dunks, and we'll keep the Kuyus and your First Lights and everything, and we'll keep that for what it's intended for.
You say that now, and in 2 years someone's going to be making a whole lot of bank by going to one of these companies being like, you know what, we're going to put your camo on our shoes.
I've done it. I've put Mossy Oak and Realtree on my shoes in the past.
Where are they now? How do you get them?
Sold really good too. People like them. And I won because I did it because I could, you know, and it was an available fabric, much like your Nike Dunk shit you showed me, streetwear fashion and camouflage. But I did actually walk in the trees with them a little bit too.
I'll walk wherever I need to walk with these shoes. They can go anywhere.
You know, yeah. Anyway,
Tree stand hunter. Spoken like a true tree stand hunter.
Exactly. I can wear these shoes and look good. Early season bow. I'll be up there.
well, funnily enough, your hat that you're wearing right there, I think you need to pull your dunk back out and put it. I need a side by side right now. Don't go
Jeff,
there.
I'm going to educate you. I match all my outfits. I got my sweet Pop the Trunk Yellow Wolf t-shirt on with a little bit of neon orange to match my nice Mountain Ops flat brim that match my dunks.
We'd be lying if we all said we didn't do that.
Yeah, trying to look good for this radio show. That's what's important. You got to look good when people are listening to you.
See, a lot of radio show hosts, like if you actually stood up, you'd have some sweatpants with stains on it. Oh, is that a beer?
No, this is a Polar Seltzer.
Oh,
And
I
it's
feel
the ruby red grapefruit flavor.
Jake and I are dying for a beer.
No,
Yeah.
I drank for one show and we had to get rid of that show because it got a little too wild.
Oh.
See, we couldn't even edit it. We just had to get rid of it. It just went aside somewhere.
It's a file somewhere stored.
Yep.
It's
Someday to
encrypted
be
files.
released.
So where do you live in Colorado?
I'm right in Denver.
Right in the city?
Well, I'm on the north end. I'm not in the city. I'm probably 15 minutes from downtown Denver, just north.
Yeah.
But where I live, it's really kind of unique. Still agricultural type area in between a bunch of suburbs. So it just hasn't quite gotten developed like all the build out.
You still on the eastern side?
I'm just on the east side of 25.
Okay.
You familiar with Denver pretty good?
Pretty good, but I used to tour a lot, like
Sure.
skateboarding. You know what I mean? Because I'm 39, so I've been skating for a long time. I've been on a lot tours in the U.S. since I was 18, so I don't tour like I used to. But when I did a lot of it, man, we covered every road. You know, a lot of places. I travel a lot anyway with all the stuff that I'm into, whether it's outdoor related or work related. So I'm fairly familiar. I know it okay. You know, I know the state of Colorado pretty good.
Sure.
But not every area. Denver's it's growing fast in the last bunch of years. I couldn't tell you, you know, some of the easier spots to get to now because it's changing. It's changed so much. But I do go out every single January for an event in the mountains in one of the ski resorts at Keystone.
Sure.
Out in there, and I fly into Denver every time there. And up until this last year, I didn't get to go. The year before I did. I'd lion hunted in Colorado every year since 2003.
Really?
But kind of on the western side,
Sure.
Southwest, but mostly all on the western side. But I wouldn't fly into Denver. I'd just drive, you know, from California all through, you know, through all your Vegas, Cedar City, St. George, that whole run. You know, you got like the back of your hand, dial. Okay, here's where I'm stopping this time.
Yeah.
So I know that side of Colorado a lot better than I know kind of the eastern side, east of Denver and north of Denver, and even south of Denver I don't know that well, but everything on the western end I know pretty good.
Good deal.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you, and this may have been touched on before. Where are you originally from the U.S., Jeff?
I was born in England.
So here's my question, man. This is kind of you having your knife company and seeing the value of being, you know, the people that live in the U.S. see the value of U.S. made products, and you know, you're mentioning that your stuff is the majority of your knives are U.S. based products.
Yeah.
Tell me the reasoning behind having a focus on that as a, you know, someone that was born in England.
Yeah, I kind of grew up wanting to be a skateboarder.
Sure.
I like idolizing everything to do with it, and when I got the opportunity to do that, and got sponsored and got free gear, and you just going at it. One of the companies I rode for that I'm partnering now, we got investors from the US over here, moved the company over here. This is to answer your question. And so when I moved here, it took me a year or two to kind of acclimatize,
Uh-huh.
You know, get used to everything, the weather, the way everything works here. I had a crazy accent. I'm from northwest England, so on the northwest coast, so pretty much Scottish.
Sure.
With it just dribbled, like you wouldn't have understood me because I speak a lot of slang and really fast. Hard to kind of slow that down, all that. But as soon as I moved here and I got comfortable after a year or two, I knew this is where I wanted to live the rest of my life. And as soon as I started to find people or know people that actually went into the outdoors and explored the outdoor opportunities that we're fortunate enough to have here in the US, once I started to go into that and see that we have a lot of public land, we have access to vast tracts of land that in Europe they just don't have. It's done. It's already been taken away. The government's already owns it. You know, we don't have access to that. It's a privileged thing. I grew up with a game warden, right? And even him, like just the restrictions on how and when and where he would carry and use his firearm was just, it was almost like you were doing something wrong.
Sure.
And you were about as legal as it gets and about as above board. Now that, to me, is just lopsided. Makes no sense to me. And the US, the foundation of the US, is the opposite of that. Hope you're right. Like
sure.
you hope it stands for certain civil liberties. And I love this country. I'm an American citizen, and I have kids that were born here. And I love England too. Absolutely love it. You know, love the culture, love the people. But with living here, long-winded answer to your question about the product, why would I want to make product in the US, right? Is number one is the quality control on the product. I've tried to make stuff in other places. It's difficult. I'm learning that. I'm learning this as we go right now.
Sure.
You know, so it's some of it's testing and seeing what we can get away with, what we can't. Because you've always got to be competitive, you know, with your product, and that might be a pricing thing. So if we look and go, okay, we want to make a fixed blade and we want to make it for $300. Well, maybe our customer, 90% of them think that that's too expensive. So how are we going to get the cost down? Either we don't have a lot of sales on that product, or we take it overseas and make it for a fraction of the price and sell it. Now, I don't want to do that, right? But we will make some products overseas because the quality of that product dictates that we can make it better over there than we can make it here, or make it in somewhere. Now, ideally, you would make everything here in the US, but we can't be a knife and tool company and manufacture hats and specialty outdoor equipment and have sewing machines and do everything in-house.
Sure.
The logistics of that are absolutely mind-boggling and a nightmare. So we're focused on making the best possible product we can through trial and error in here. And meanwhile, we make some other stuff. And we make some other stuff that we don't make here domestically too. And we make some stuff that we make a little bit overseas and a little bit here, a combination of everything. But ideally, I'd like not to be able to have to manufacture overseas, but we are manufacturing some stuff overseas, and we'll probably continue to do so. But the stronger we get in here, the more we learn about how to manufacture that stuff. There is potential to do absolutely everything here. The potential is there for that product. It's just expensive, and labor. And think about the labor making knives and tools. Do you want to pull someone off the street and pay them minimum wage to make a product that's could chop their fingers off, or if they make one mistake, it's going to cost you a lot of money? No, we want skilled workers, and we want to train them in the US, and we want to train them to make a product that they're not going to be able to make somewhere else because we have special sets of them. It's making a lot of noise and machinery. So to answer your question, we're trying to do everything here, everything we can. Our first in-house product, we didn't need to buy all the raw materials in the US. We could have dropped the price even further. But the quality of that product, the very first product we've had our hands on 150%, is going to be the best product that we can put out right now, you know, and then we'll build from that. You know, I think we all hunt, right? We all spend a lot of time in the outdoors, and we use knives and equipment like that regularly. Man, there's a lot of junk out there. There's a lot of junk out there, and some of the people will tell you is great. And like we've used some of the stuff, and I've used some of the stuff, and I've got it out of the box and opened it up out of the box, and it's fell to pieces, and it's $200. You know, so I think baby steps and like learning the process of the manufacturing process of knives and tools. I think we have a lot to offer. if we do it right. And a lot of people will say they want to support manufacturing in the US, but then a lot of customers, we get responses a lot, and most of them are very positive. And most of our responses are very, very positive. We love what you're doing. We think the direction of your brand is fantastic. Your branding's great. Your product's great. And then we get the one guy that says that everything's too expensive, or that it's just a joke, or as much as people want to get behind made in USA and manufacturing in the US, the consumer still wants something for free, and they want a good deal, and they want all that. And so you're fighting against that, and you're balancing that out as your business. If we do do research on the people that bought our products, and we find out they were all 20-year-old boys and they were into camping, then our customer's a 20-year-old camper. And we have to develop product to sell to him. And if we don't want to develop product to sell to him, then we need to start another business.
Sure.
Right? Or we need to get into something else. So we're going to try to manufacture as much as we can domestically, as much as we can. And then we'll offer something overseas that might be a little bit lower in price for that person that just doesn't have that money.
Yeah.
Right? Like our hats like that, we make that. This is made in USA, and the fabric is made in the oldest wax canvas manufacturer in the United States. And that sounds like one of those craftsman stories, right? But bottom line is, for this particular kind of fabric, this is as good as it gets, right? And then we ship it over and we manufacture it locally. And it's $55 for a hat, which most people are used to paying $28 for a hat, sure. $35 for a hat, but that's going to be made in overseas. Right. Now, we make the same margins pretty much as we would on an overseas hat, a little bit less because we're shipping everything. We're handling all of it. We're delivering it. Someone's making it. They're delivering it back. Those are the problems with US manufacturing, the little things. The mailing, the shipping, the movement of that raw goods, and paying people to do that, and the cost of that. Now in Asia, that comes as part of your deal with a lot of your vendors that you'll work with. They'll do a lot of that for you. They'll find you the fabrics you want. They'll do all that for you. But are they the skilled worker that you would have employed in your building in the US? I think we can build better businesses and brands in there, but the customer's also going to have to really get behind that, really, and they do. I mean, Filson does a great job. They do manufacture a lot of stuff domestically, and then they do a combination of some of the fabrics made overseas, but they'll manufacture it domestically, or the other way around. But they don't lie to the customer. If a Filson's product's made in the USA, usually a little bit more expensive, and if you want to support that, you buy that one. Now, if you don't care, you'll just buy it based on price. So it's a tough one. It's definitely a balance. But the goal is to make a product that performs and does what you tell your customer it's going to do. Now, that doesn't mean you design a hat and say it can do everything, because a hat can't do everything. But you can make a hat and say this fabric is the toughest fabric that we've been able to find. It will not tear. If it does tear at any point in your life, we'll replace it. We're not lying, and it's not an aftermarket product that's open source that we couldn't continue to get forever. And then we can control our brand. So, I don't know. It's a difficult one. Do you want to see our little machines and stuff?
Yes, I do.
You want to check it out? Our machinist actually left about an hour ago, and it's a smallish shop. But I'll see if we can run you through stuff. Heat treating, tempering, right there, the little oven, and all the mixtures of grinders and everything else, all the bells and whistles and everything. So now you can kind of see. It's hard for me to look, but and then we do all of our hatchet, some of the work in-house. The sheaths are made domestically, and we stain them all in-house, so we can finish. We can have put our finish and use the stains, the quality wood stains that we want to use, which is actually guitar stains. So it's for like antique guitars. It's beautiful, beautiful stain. So it goes real dark, which most kind of wood stains are usually a little more opaque.
Mm-hmm.
So we do that because we want that product to be a jet black hatchet, because I think there's a guy out there that'll always buy a freaking black hatchet. So that's what we're doing. Then we're starting to build, our folders, so you can see at different stages of what we're doing, and that's pretty much it. Really, not a huge spot. There's some gear. Don't even know what that is. Yeah,
Few packs.
yeah. And we're getting, we get hooked up by Pelican too, which is a pretty sweet deal, getting free like rifle and gun pistol cases and all that. It's always good getting that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
They weigh a ton.
Hey, you gotta protect what's in there.
What's that? Yeah, you got to get it first.
That's true.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. This is a smallish shop, a few thousand square feet. And we have another office that's kind of in downtown Long Beach, which is where I kind of work out of a lot, just because it's close to home. And this is close to home too. I'm about, 5 or 6 miles from my house. And then, so it's all close by. And this area is actually historically like really well known for industrial manufacturing, Signal Hill, because we're so close to the San Pedro port, which is the busiest port on the West Coast. But yeah, I don't know, what background do you want? What do you want? Try and get that weird light.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. Like I said, I was just curious from perspective, because my dad came from Mexico, and he's come to this country and now owner of multiple businesses, and we fight the battle as well with the labor and the it's a different, we're more a service-based business, but it's interesting to get the perspective from, I'm not calling you an outsider, you've probably lived more in the US than in England, as my dad
I'm
has.
pretty familiar with the European kind of retail space, you know what I mean, or the customer from manufacturing skateboards and whatever it is for the last 20 years and selling that stuff to kids, essentially. You do see things, patterns that are global.
Sure.
And those patterns are more and more global as time goes by. Is that good? How's that light? How does my hair look?
So, speaking of skateboards, how hard would it be for Phil and I to get a couple with our logos on them for like the background space here?
I'm going to go ahead and step in right here, and I'm just going to say that
we only need one of them, Phil? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, hey, man, I don't judge anybody for the things that they do. I respect it, and I admire a lot of it. I'm not skilled enough or coordinated enough, I think, to be on a skateboard. I think that I probably end up hurting something real bad. And it's the same reason I don't ski. I just, something about a Hispanic guy going down a sheet of ice on two little sticks, not a good thing, man.
I'm the same with skiing, or even snowboarding. I don't do those things, they look awesome. It looks fun to go backcountry skiing or snowboarding where no one's ever been, kind of thing, or on fresh powder, just for what you'd see and the enjoyment out of that. But I hear you.
Well, I
I
was
thinking of a wall hanging, though, more of a novelty type thing to have right behind my head.
Yeah, but then you'd get the buddies over, you're having a couple pops, and then they say, hey, can you use that? Let's see it, and then you're going to act like you can use it, break your ass, and then it's all over, man. It's all over.
I just want the deck. Don't put anything else on.
Yeah.
I just want it.
All right, make that happen. You're asking how much does that cost to make one of them?
Yeah, is it a lot to get one? To get one deck?
Well, you probably maybe just want to screen print it, so depending on how many colors, and then you just have to get the films made and find some screen print skateboards and whatever you wanted. You could probably do it for, I don't know, that's up a couple $100, $150, I don't know, something like that. Set up on that, probably $50 to $100 on the film, and then if you're only going to make one of them, just one.
I just need one. I just need one for my wall.
Well, it depends how many colors you want then, man, but it's definitely doable. But you could do the same thing with your beautiful mounted deer and behind you right there. If you want to just do the same thing for them, you could do it for a couple of $100. I think they look much more beautiful than a skateboard with, I don't know what kind of, whether it would just be your name on it, Will, or...
No, our logo. It'd be our logo, our podcast logo.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, hence why it would be behind me.
Yeah, I don't think you should do that.
No, I don't have any mounts as beautiful as Phil's though.
You start working on it.
I am working on it. I'm waiting for one right now. The deer I took this year, he's currently off.
So let's talk some hunting.
Let's talk Southern California and Colorado. They're in both interesting area. You think?
What's that?
Colorado. A lot of transplants from California.
Yes.
Moved to Colorado. A lot of business owners moved to Colorado.
Sure.
Now moving out of Colorado, right? The last couple of years because of some of the restrictions, right? Which affects hunters huge in Colorado. Access to some of the high country during the winter and close off because of the snowmobiling and all that kind of crap. And you can't even hunt effectively, efficiently in some areas because of it. Like those kinds of problems in Southern California. Yeah, it's insane. We rode into Holcomb Valley. I did a loop in the backcountry kind of with my son over the weekend, took him up in the mountain. They closed that dang road off. It's 85 degrees. And the road was closed because it snowed, a month ago?
Yeah.
And
really?
Closed, and for no reason. With no signage, no nothing at the trail, like at the start of the first trailhead. Those kind of things in California and in Colorado are like gonna be the things that are gonna kill hunting for us. The more of that happens, and Jake, being a hunting guide, I mean, so ingrained in that whole space, would know more than I ever would, about that, and I think that that talking about those kinds of things, I think it's just fucking super important. We're in Southern California. I live in LA. We're right in. Jake lives out in the desert, a couple of hours away. But if I want to go out, just to go to even before I even pull the firearm out in anywhere where it's legal, I got to drive 2 hours. Before I start. And I do that as much as I possibly can. And during this past season, I don't know how many days we did, about 30 odd days guiding for Jake. But just very frustrating, like for somebody who, and I've only just in the last couple of years, because I've had responsibilities and the heavy workload and all that, only had a certain amount of time each year I could allocate to go out and do stuff for me.
Sure.
Very difficult. But in the last couple of years, I've stopped that. I'm like, no, I'm going to take every single opportunity I possibly can. Number one, to stay in shape, but number two is because it's the only thing that I want to do. It drives me like crazy. So just even that, like with the limited amount of experience that I have, going after animals like full time or as much as you possibly can, there's so many just barriers to making it difficult to just go and do it, And I think that is going to be the biggest problem we're going to have to address if we want like a load of people to sign up and do it more, because that's the goal. You want people to appreciate, respect, and understand the role that it plays in wildlife management and everything. So that's the side of it that I'd like to be involved with. If I can, I'll try to help, even if it's just me being positive on that or raising that concern. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you make an interesting point too, because and I heard it on another podcast. Actually, it was today or yesterday. I was listening to. They were talking about a similar topic, and you've got a small percentage of hunters, you've got a small percentage of anti-hunters, and you got the vast majority of people in the middle that are just they don't care about either as much. And if we can just educate that group of people, and some of them may begin to start hunting. But I think the vast majority of people, they don't want to hunt. They still want to go to the grocery store and pick up their meat and whatever they want to do. But as long as they understand and respect what we want to do and understand that is part of our right and we are taking care of our lands and taking care of animals in the process, as long as we can help to educate that group, I think that's the important thing, because the people that are on the extreme end that want to shut down hunting and shut down regulate everything to the nth degree, those people you're not going to reason with those people, in my opinion. It's just a matter of training the people in the middle. What's that?
Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah.
Difficult.
Well, I tell you what, like running an outfit in Southern California, I see it firsthand. The laws and everything that I have to abide by, and I have to come to offices down here in LA to give them my permits to guide hunters, and it like changes the people's careers. They're like, wait, you're doing what? Where? Yeah. Right now? And they do everything they can to prevent that from happening. But every time I come down, like we're in Long Beach right now, every time I come down here, I realize how disconnected us as hunters are from bulk populations.
Right.
So, you drive across the United States and you stop in different towns all the way across the United States, 2,000 people in this one, 5,000, 10,000, smaller towns. Where you come to a place like this, there's 15 million people, and you have a hunting get-together and there's 10 guys that show up. So your bulk populations are so far uneducated in hunting, and then, your hunters of today, they don't want to come into places like this and educate these kinds of people and the bulk populations in hunting, and so that's, that gap is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
There's also no place for people to go. Like if you're a kid, and there's a lot of people, Southern California has a huge gun community. Like it might have a big hunting community, but it's a very, very large, active gun community, right? Most of those people, if it was presented to them, and the path was easier for them to pick up a firearm, go and shoot an animal and harvest it naturally and take the meat and go do it, without going through all of that, educating themselves on the ins and outs of how to do that in Southern California and where to go and where to start. You look at the map, where do you go? Right? You want to hunt mule deer in Southern California, you look at a map and you go, okay, where do I go? Where do I go to find that out? Who's going to tell me that? It's not there. So I think, like, from your point, there's a lot of people that are sitting there waiting to be educated the right way. You want them to look on as hunting favorably, right? Like favorably, and as a valid part of society and a valid part of the infrastructure and the logistics behind managing our wild herds of animals, right? Because if that revenue isn't coming in through hunting, it's not coming in through some other way.
Right.
So that guy that shoots firearms as a 1911 or whatever, he shoots all the time. He'd love to go hunting, but he's never even met anyone that hunts. I've met a lot of those people, and they want to go hunt. And they say, take me hunting, let's go hunting. It's not easy to do.
No.
It's not, so, that's one of the challenges when you have millions upon millions of people in a huge city in LA, and a lot of them would hunt.
I think like the other thing is many hunters they just want to buy their tag. They just want to do their thing. They don't want to get involved in any of the politics. They don't want to get involved in any. They just want to be left alone to do what they can do. But what those people aren't realizing is the more people that start to do that, the less people that are there that are willing to spend the time and go into the bigger cities and put in the work to help protect what we have. Like it's hunting is going to start to go away because there's less and less people teaching their kids about this type of lifestyle and educating them there the right way, and also even putting in extra free time, of which you could be out scouting, or you could be out fishing, or you could be out whatever, hiking, but a lot of times you need to sacrifice a little bit of that so that way you can go to your local government entities meetings and show the support and get involved. And that's where that disconnect is starting to show up in many cases, because it's been for years that so many people are, I don't care, I'm following the regs as the state makes me do. I'm paying my money to get a tag, and let me just go do my thing. Yeah. But then it stops right there. So again, I think this generation with the internet and social media and understanding that stuff is going to start going away, I hope that people start getting motivated to get out of their comfort zone a little bit and teach and take someone new to go hunting and help out, right? Maybe it's your own kids. Maybe you take one of your kids' buddies or something. Maybe that's enough.
Yeah, or you just throw somebody in the truck and you take them out just so they see something from a different perspective, or they learn a little bit of patience, or whatever it is, but they have an experience that they've not had before, and that's how it starts, right?
Yeah.
But it's a difficult one when you have like huge stigma attached to even just the word hunting, hunter, hunting, implies something. Implies that you're going out to kill something.
Yeah.
Which is okay, because that's essentially what you're doing. But with like just the general public and the state of affairs right now, and how to market that like thing that we love doing, right? How to market that and have it actually survive, right? Because we can see there's big problems. But some of the younger brands, I think, are bringing that like younger, fresher perspective. The ones that we're all supporting, like whether it's your Kuyus that you like or whether it's whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? I think some of those younger brands do understand that problem, like actually understand that problem, and given the opportunities, they would do the right things to help that, because they recognize that if it does go away or if that business drops, everything they're building towards is a dying, entity. But that's a difficult one when you have like a bunch of different hunting organizations. You have all your different shooting organizations, and then you have all your conservation organizations that are either 501c corps or privately owned. And then the worst one that you have is all the anti-hunting 501c corps or private entities that have muddied the water. They're lying. Essentially most of the hunting organizations, they're not lying. They're generally trying to give you statistics and facts that they think might help, right? But then you have, some of those other organizations, whether it's the Humane Society or whoever it is, telling the majority of the people that you're saying don't hunt, but maybe might be okay with it. They're being fed that information, millions of dollars of marketing each year going into spreading essentially a lie about wildlife management and about the health of the animals and the species that live on our earth, not just North America.
Sure.
You have the whole elephant thing, and you have the whole African lion thing, and you have Leonardo DiCaprio going on there posting pictures of like a Yellowstone grizzly saying that that animal is vulnerable. Like the word, the words. It's that kind of stuff. I think a tighter message on that is like something that all of us have to make sure that we are aware of that, and we don't go down the same route of, shooting an animal and just laughing, you know what I mean? Right. And like that particular moment for most people is pretty amazing. It's pretty beautiful, right? It's pretty special, and it can be whatever that emotion comes out. But it's not something that as an industry we want to throw at people in the face.
Right.
Because it's always going to get taken as blood, death. You did it right there, and you're laughing.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that if you're there with your buddies that you can act the way ever you want. Mm-hmm. As long as you're legal, and there's a certain amount of ethics, meaning you didn't intentionally make the animal harm, right? You intentionally shot its leg off and let it run away for a laugh, and then you're joking. That's obviously not okay to anybody, But that you give them that ammo, Every time we do that, we give them ammunition. And we need to figure out a way to give them different ammunition that is undisputable. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something that I enjoy watching a lot of the short films that get featured in some of these film tours and stuff, because some of them, they really focus on the process and the journey and the scenery and the experience, and less about the kill in many of the ones that I've enjoyed watching. And that, to me, is things that should be highlighted, that highlight hunting in a positive view. Honestly, a lot of the hunting television, I watch less and less of it, it seems like, because there is still some of that redneck kind of loose cannon.
Yeah. Well, you don't learn anything, right? Like, if I watch a hunting show, I want the guy that's on there, whether he's the guide or whether he's the hunter or whether he's the show presenter, whatever he does, tell me something I didn't know, or tell me something maybe I do know, or just freaking say something that's helpful. But most of them, it's kind of runs through that formula.
Yeah.
Right? And when you've watched it once, you're not going to watch it again, Not
sure.
really.
It doesn't have to be the cookie cutter. Screenshots of Bocephus the buck in the beginning. Will we find him? Let's cut back and forth. Dramatic angles. A little bit of music. Oh, look, we found Bocephus the buck and shot him at the end. Here we are, holding his antlers up.
Music, very emotional, and fade to credits.
Yeah, right? It doesn't have to be that. It can be a unique, story-driven show or even film. We had buddies from Outback Outdoors do film, the Ibex, and they did it last year, and I think they have a sequel coming out to it, and it was a beautiful film, well done, story-driven film about hunting. And it's things like that, breaking the mold, or whether it's Donnie Vincent works or some of the Brandon Shockey stuff. That's the kind of stuff that it's going to attract people who might be on the fringe, might be into the outdoors, into camping and all this stuff, who maybe want a cleaner source of meat or want to take that part of the process into their own hands. That might get them in there. That might get them into the door. That might get them to pique curiosity and reach out to someone they know who does hunt.
Yeah, I think processing your meat and doing that side of it's a huge benefit, right? And a huge selling point of going hunting, right? For the majority of people is, most people, if you said to them, are you comfortable with somebody doing it like this, killing the animal, processing it, taking the meat home and eating it? Most people are going to say, yeah. Most people are. So if that's the side of it that gets them into it, that's huge. But then you still have the problem of access and it's information. I'm a 15-year-old guy. I've got a gun. Whatever. I've been shooting with my dad for the last 3 years. I'd love to go hunting. My dad's not a hunter. I'm not a hunter. Where do I start? I go on the internet hunting. And you go from there. I think we need to do something about that. And we're getting weird light.
Yeah.
We're getting crazy.
I had an interesting conversation the other day.
Heads.
Yeah, just our heads. But it was actually with a lady who works here with Geoff, and she was talking to me about wanting to get in, just being from the city, living in the city, having no connection with anything outside ever for her whole entire life. And her saying that she wants to be involved. And so I asked her, I said, now, do you actually want to be involved and be hands-on in those activities? Or could you fill that void by being involved in some other way but still living in the city? And she sat there and thought for a long time, and she said there's really no outdoor kind of like groups, or I guess North Face would be the closest thing to where it's an outdoor company that people actually like wear and use it in the city. But it's kind of the same thing. Like
What's the stigma again with product attached to the word hunting?
Yeah.
So if someone was sneaky about it, they'd bring it all in the back door, right? Build this massive huge all in the back door and then open that information to people. And it's possible. It's possible. I think some younger brands out there, I really do think, are going to be very, very instrumental in like guiding where this next phase is going to go. And I don't think it's going to be some of the bigger established brands in the industry. I don't see it. From a business standpoint, I don't see it, I think a lot of it's outdated product, outdated business model, and outdated just aesthetics and quality too. And most of it is made overseas. And that's what we're currently, the majority of what we're buying. But I think moving forward, I think there's going to be more respect for like your serious mountain hunter. I think, I think Jason Akuyu, again, not to freaking just push the brand. I think the fact that he's trying to get that message out to a lot of people is important. Whether you like him or it or that or not, somebody's trying to do that, and it's positive. It's not the formula that you said in the videos. They're trying to do more creative stuff, and we do the same thing. We've made 3 short little movies, 8 minutes long, 8 to 12 minutes, and the first one was with Jake, and it was right when he started his outfit, so it was his first client, and as his own outfit, and that's an interesting story, because I thought if somebody never hunted before, which that hunter never had, make a video on that. That's important. That's important. It doesn't happen that much that a guy draws a Thule elk tag and he's never hunted before, and it's the first client for a new outfit in business in Southern California with an incredibly accomplished hunting guide. That's his very first client for his new business. It's interesting, and hopefully people will look at that and go, "Oh, I could do that," or and then we did one on sheep. So you try and do those things, but they're only going to go so far without it's all information, right? So the more we can condense the information and put it to the potential next generation hunter, more likely are to grab onto it. But you have to know that guy. You have to know, and it starts with, strange enough, with like younger kids and people, because that's when you're exposed to a lot of that stuff, and when you grab onto it, and when a lot of your foundations for what you are as a person are set, right? Like, I mean, it goes past that. A guy can be 40 years old, never have hunted and go and do that, but generally, if you can get that information to somebody when they're younger, and it's good information, you'll be with them for the rest of their lives. And so, you know, I think that's the issue, is that everyone wants to make these rad little videos and great videos that kind of have a different take and aren't all about going and looking for an animal and you know, freaking shooting it and then high-fiving and taking a trophy shot and posting just the trophy shot on the internet, even though you spent freaking 18 days trying to get that one animal, right? 18 days to show a bit, you know, like, to me, the 18 days is pretty sick. That's more important.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, I'm glad you mentioned Kuyu, and I'm glad you mentioned really good films, because that gives me a perfect segue into people out there. If you have not gone over to the Kuyu Film Fest page and voted for our buddy's film Searching, which is in the pro-long category, that's our good buddy AJ DeRosa, who's been on the show a bunch of times. Vote for his film. He's currently in the lead. Let's get him over 1,000 votes. Let's throw this thing up for him, make sure it happens. And then our other really good friend, Justin Wampler, and Chris Honstein, who I believe are in the amateur long. And, geez, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Can you have their film?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember now.
I'll get that for everybody, and when I post this show up, I'll make sure the name's up there posted with it. I want to say it's Expanding the Tradition. I think that's the name of the film. Does that sound good?
Sounds like it's it.
I think I got it. But make sure you guys head over them and make sure, you know, just support people who are doing this exact type of thing we're talking about right now. Anyways, back to what you were saying too, is one of the best things I think for expanding hunting and growing hunting is pro shops. Like whether it's Phil's in Denver or Gotham Archery in Brooklyn, which it's in Brooklyn, right? This archery shop, and it's exploding. I went down there to check it out because I have some mutual friends with the owners, and there was guys in there. There's a Puerto Rican guy. He's an actor, and he comes up. His name's Luis Antonio Ramos, and he's on, I think it's Greed with 50 Cent. And he came up and he starts talking to me, and he's like, I just got into archery. I'm addicted, and I just took my first hunter safety course, and I'm going to become a hunter. It was fascinating to talk to this guy who's lived in the city nearly all his life and decided he wants to now be a bow hunter. You know, and I asked the guys who run the shop, I'm like, how many of these have you had? And they were like, oh, we've had 2 so far. And I'm like, how you know, how'd they do? And they're like, they sold out in 5 minutes. Our hunter safety courses were booked in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think it's possible. I think there needs to be these grassroots shops like Phil's where people can go and get great information from very knowledgeable people, or, you know, Gotham Archery or whatever local shop might be in your area that could help you get going, because a lot of these guys, they want to share their passion with you.
You know, get that a lot, Phil?
What's that?
Your store?
What's that?
You have a store?
Yes, I've got archery pro shop.
Do you get a lot of like younger kids or younger people, or even a lot of first time kind of shooters coming in?
Oh yeah, and that's where, I mean, you know, Will and I started this podcast about a year ago, and then I've got another blog site that I was just doing some random stuff, just more for the sake of, because I got so many questions from online, and so I'm not in the shop all the time, obviously. So people were just, you know, emailing me questions or social media, and then I started doing some videos, and I ended up turning it just more into a short version podcast that I do separate from this, where it's just short tips, because there's so many beginners and so many people that have maybe done it for a little while, but they just don't know where to take the next steps to start to evolve to grow themselves in the process of becoming a better hunter. Yeah. And that's where we see it a lot. And the thing that I really enjoy is we have a really good youth program. You know, our youth program is excellent, and the coaches I have are excellent, and so they bring in a lot of families that maybe won't be into hunting, because the youth program is more structured towards kind of like Olympic style shooting and that type of archery. But you bring these families in, and it opens the door to archery in general to them. And then it may be a family that's, they go to the Whole Foods and they pay twice as much as anybody else for groceries, and that's what they want to do, and that's okay. But then they start looking at some mounts on the wall. They start seeing bow hunters that are in the shop practicing with their setups, and they get curious and they start asking questions. Those are the people that they're open-minded. Oftentimes they're curious, and they're kids that start chirping, I want to do this, I want to do this. Those are the ones that I really feel motivated to help, because not that I don't feel motivated to try to help as many people as we can, but it's to see the kids have an interest and a passion to try to do that, and knowing that if you start them out and teach them the right way early on, then they'll be able to carry that through forever. Yeah. But we do see it, and it's good to see. There's other programs that we work with the state wildlife here in Colorado. It's Parks and Wildlife now. They do a Becoming a Bow Hunter program, and they have a structured course where they do lecture and teaching and demonstrations, and they get people. I think they're in their second year, and they just had their first group of hunters actually go out and hunt in the field last year when they went through that course. So it's really cool to see some of those types of programs growing, and to be a part of it, where we open the doors of the shop and we let them use our classroom and whatever they need to do. Yeah. Because it's hard, because we don't have the reach, we don't have the finances to reach out to the masses, but just to start trying to pick and
you can affect your area.
That's right.
And that comes back to your duty, right? Like if we want to see this kind of go down the right path, and we want to see our game herds, more importantly, be healthier than they've ever been, or as healthy as they can be with the resources that we have. We're getting crappy rain. There's only so much we can do about that, right? But, that doesn't mean we couldn't subsidize that, being smart in some areas, right? I think because everyone you talk to, 99% of the people love being in the outdoors, right? And they love that, and they love the romantic side of going and looking at a big animal if they have the opportunity. But if they're a little more educated on the role that that animal plays in its ecosystem, and they're a little more open-minded, as you say, you get a lot more stuff done.
Let's touch on that a little bit, right? You're both hunters. And I guess figure out who wants to go first with this one. But the hunting experience for you, if you were to describe the emotions and what it's like out there for you personally from start to finish, how would you explain it to somebody who has never hunted before?
You want to go first?
Oh, me? So I'll just say something real quick. I believe 100% that every human being has a hunting instinct that's in them.
Would you say they're a natural-born hunter?
I would say, yeah. So it's super obvious. Anybody you go hunting with, no matter how much they stood against it, stood for it, or their opinions on it. You take a girl who says, I've guided in New Zealand for 4 years, and when I was there, we guided a lot of people that were even not hunters, anti-hunters, everything you could ever imagine. And what I saw is when you put that rifle in their hands and you give them that mission, their whole mindset changes. And they grab something that's way deep inside of everybody, the natural-born hunter. And it brings it out when they start that pursuit, because it's in our nature. And so for me, just to bring it back to your answer, I think for me, the feelings of hunting is more instinctual and than most anything that I partake in, anything that I do. It's in your blood as a human, I think. And it's one of the few things that we're still able to do that is very to the basic core of human nature.
Yeah.
Jeff. All right, Jeff, good luck following that one up.
That was a little heavy. Sorry. That's very emotional. Yeah. No, for me, honestly, what I get the most kick out of is understanding like the role that that animal plays in its space, right? Like if you understand the niche, the role that it fills, and then you kill that animal, it's a lot more fulfilling to me to have learned that prior, you know? So I know what I'm doing. True. Exactly. You know what it is. You're taking the life of an animal, which is fine, right? And it's important that happens for a number of reasons, not only for us to continue to be able to feed ourselves or to have that skill set in you, but also so they can be managed properly, so we can understand them. How the heck are we going to know? I mean, it wasn't until mid-70s that we even knew how many offspring mountain lion had, you know? And I'd rather understand, like, cause you live in Colorado, right? So the cats are big in the higher elevation, yeah, and they're different to they are in the desert, sure, or in parts of like the foothills. They act differently, right? So if I go into a space and I'm like interested in like finding an animal in that space or hunting it, I get the most out of like when I understand what more of what it is that I'm doing than less. So when you ask what it feels like to go hunting, like what you get the most out of it, that's what I get out of it. It's constantly learning about the different species of big game animals and small game animals and the role that they play and how that all works like this. I get a huge kick out of that. And it's never, you know, it changes a lot. You know, one area, 1 year's great, next year it's awful, you know? And then you find another spot and it's bigger and better than you ever thought possible. Whereas 10 years ago, there wasn't one animal there or something, you know? So I get a kick out of that, just the actual constant pursuit, you know, of that is like, for me, is just huge. Because I know that the day that I die, I'm only going to learn so much. And I'm only going to be able to take in so much. And I'm always going to want more of that because I love doing it. So that personal fulfillment that it gives you, just the act of doing it, is what I get the most out of.
Yeah, but even in doing, like you said, even in doing that, going about it that way, once you've identified and you've learned and you've taken the time to figure out animals and how they impact their surroundings and how where their place is, that's where your success probably goes up, because now you know the details and the intricacies about how to be successful to take that animal or another animal in that area.
Or you decide not to waste your time in that area.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, but that process is where I think is what hunters need to spend the time and develop the experience doing, instead of, I want to go kill something. I want to go hunting because I want to go fill my freezer. Okay, well, filling your freezer may be the end goal, the end result, but if you can identify and appreciate that middle process and what it takes to learn the species, learn the surroundings, learn their habitat, learn their patterns, their movements, learn what impacts different things, then in doing all that and learning all that, then filling that freezer is probably going to be a little easier to do. Or like you said, maybe you don't waste your time in that area and you move on to the next area because you know that your odds are probably way low because you've spent the time to learn it. So that's where that process is, I think, doesn't get enough attention, and it's a great, you know, it's a great.
Most of the people I talk to too, and feel a lot like that, but just don't maybe don't think about that as much or realize that that's why they're doing it.
Sure.
You know, I read a lot of books too, which isn't the same as actively doing something. But my interest lies in educating myself on those animals. You know.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. It's good to talk hunting with hunters, regardless where you live or what game you choose to hunt. You know, because at the end of the day, if you get down to the core of that, of appreciating the animals and learning it and taking the time, then everything becomes level ground. We're all talking apples to apples, and the conversation is we can relate, man. I mean, I guess that's just the best way to wrap it up, because whether it's whitetail in a tree or whether it's mountain lion or whether it's sheep, you know, in the mountaintops, it's if the process is essentially the same, you take terrain out, you take species out, but the process essentially is the same, then we're all doing the same thing, man. We just need to appreciate that.
All members of the same tribe.
That's it.
Absolutely. I
Now,
agree.
Do you guys do archery at all, either of you?
I'm not really archery. Shot a fair amount, target shot when I was a little younger, but I don't archery.
We can work with that.
Yeah. I do archery hunting. Yeah. I take in like the pro shooters from Matthews hunting and stuff, and hold world records and state records and all kinds of stuff for guided archery hunts. But
cool.
For myself, I don't hunt much archery because I don't hunt much, right? So if I have a half day to go hunting, I'm going to make sure I can get something, you know, and I take my rifle, and because I'm hunting all the time and doing archery hunts all the time with clients. So
yeah, when it's a business, I get it, man. With me owning the archery shop, I shot competitively for years, and it seems like the more successful my business has gotten, the further along we've got, the less time I get to shoot, and the less time I get to do that, you know. But it's part of, I guess it's part of the trade-offs.
Yeah.
So
it is, but you get to do what you love, right? We get to pursue our dreams, and that's, you know, first and foremost, the closest bit to your heart, right? So if that works, then you're happy most of the time.
Oh, you're right. And
at least you're out doing it.
That's
I was saying that to, that's what I was saying earlier on the phone, Will, is that like, I have a massive amount of experience. I don't know a lot about sheep hunting or guiding until the last couple of years, and I've just thrown myself in scouting year round.
Sure.
You know, and helping Jake guide. But I get to hunt sheep, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't get to pull the trigger, but the day that I get the chance to pull the trigger, I've already been hunting sheep.
Right.
You know? So it's fulfilling in that respect.
So the video you did with that tag that you got from the banquet there, where'd that hunt take place at?
Which are we talking about? The video, the wild sheep video that we just
did you get a tag for that?
No,
that was
it was strictly a donation.
Yeah.
Nothing in return.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I donated the money to the Wild Sheep Foundation to try to kind of put the problem that we're having and health of sheep in front of people with a very simple message, you know, and that, you know, when somebody makes a donation to the Take One Book, Put One Back program for the Wild Sheep Foundation, where that money goes, where it would go, where it could go, show people where it could go, and have it somebody that cares make the donation in the video. Yeah. Not an anti-hunter, not somebody that has hunted forever, somebody that came in and, you know, went to the sheep show for the last 2 years only, and the first time I went, I was blown away by the people that were there. Absolutely. Honestly, at the level of just education on wild animals. I was blown away.
That's great,
so
man.
I felt like it was important that, like, that I did something about that, like to the degree that I could affect, you know. And I also thought it was important to note that that money that goes into direct conservation in the state of California for sheep, the donations and those sales of specialty tags, freaking huge for helping manage and helping us get information that we need about that animal. So that was all that was. It was like a short video to expose the disease by a donation from a hunter with no hidden agenda.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I guess I misunderstood the beginning when you talked about the donation.
I missed it a little too. I didn't realize that until just now.
For a tag,
so. Well, Jake's outfit, Kika Outfitters, I helped guide for Jake. We had the state tag last year, the governor's tag for sheep. So that's why we got confused.
Got it.
We're just saying then you had the tag for it. We confused. You know?
Yeah, we do a lot with governor's tags and buying tags and stuff like that. But no, what we did was Geoff at Sheep Show was like, I'm going to give some money. And I was like, you're going to give money? Like, right now? He's like, yeah, right now. And I don't want to get anything in return. I'm just blown away right now. And then he gave the money. And then, so he gave the money, and then the video came up, and then also additional to what the video actually states, I think it's super important that it shows that hunters like Geoff have the heart for the wildlife more so than anti-hunters, and they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're putting their actions where their mouth is, and we're able to show it through the video.
Exactly. And people will say, who are against trophy hunting or any hunting, I guess, really, they'll say, why don't you just give money then? If you're that into it, if you care that much about it. And so you're actually someone who did just give money because you're that into it and that much about it. And for people listening, would you mind saying how much that is? Because it wasn't a small sum of money, you know.
It was 15 grand. It was 15 grand, but it takes a certain amount of money to
Affect
perform.
real change.
Yeah, and it wasn't, you know, like, I'm not the wealthiest guy in the world, but I'm also not the poorest guy in the world, and I didn't do it really for self-gain. I actually thought that, like, I've spent many years working in like the action sports industry, skate, surf, snow, that whole thing. So it's youth consumer, and I've spent many years developing product and putting it to market. And sometimes the message doesn't have to have like any goal attached to it other than the right goal, you know, which is to show people something, you know, and donations and stuff like that. You would think that they would be that, right? But then also at the sheep show, there's a lot of people there that want to make silent donations because of the stigma that's attached to, like what you just said. You know, a wealthy businessman goes, I'm going to donate 100 grand right now, but don't mention it.
Happened the same night. Geoff gave that money. A guy gave 75 grand, and nobody knows who he was.
Yep, and he didn't want anyone to know, and he didn't want anyone to say anything.
And just to clarify, the film that I was talking about is on your site. It's civilware.com. Yeah. But it's the wild sheep film, and I encourage you to check it out.
I'll post it in the show notes for this episode.
Yeah, it's also plays on gohunt.com.
Got it.
That's the only kind of hunting media that plays the video. So we partnered with those guys when we put it out. So you can see it on civilware.com, or you can see it on gohunt.com.
Cool.
You know, and they do a lot of good things for Western hunting. Educate people on land access and all those kinds of things, which is hugely important. And so, you know, but you know, to my point, like, you have very successful business people or people in the public eye that might be in those banquet rooms making donations or buying those big trophy tags for hundreds of thousands of dollars, $300,000, $400,000,
mm-hmm.
and they don't want anyone to know that, right? That's sad. That's a beautiful thing, especially if every penny of that goes into conservation for that particular species in that state. That's a huge amount of revenue coming to manage game animals in Wyoming or something. It's huge. So I'm okay with, like, that was the side of it that I was okay with. I was okay with people coming back and saying something. Like, I'm comfortable with that interaction, you know? So that's important, that we have people that are willing to try to talk, to help. And that's one of the things I felt confident about, felt comfortable being that kind of soundboard, you know? And if I had 400,000 free right now, I might donate it to a huge conservation project, you know?
Well, I mean, you know, kudos to you, you know, like I said, because it's something that like, it is a big deal. We need it because the animals need it, you know, and to continue to preserve our game and hopefully have our wildlife flourish through us benefiting them. I mean, we need to help wherever we can, whether it's, you know, just putting in for your tags or picking and researching a group of you know, organization that you feel strongly about, you want to support. Maybe do it that way. You know, these banquets are also another way. But I appreciate the time, and I don't mean to cut it. The conversation's awesome.
The family, right? 8 minutes late for dinner. I'm in trouble.
I'm going to have to get rolling, man. I've got 2 kids. I got to get fed and get them ready for bed.
Good. I like that. I'm in the same boat. Looking at the clock going, it's 6:09. She's going to kill me. Yeah. 6:09. She's going to kill me. I got 2 kids too. Jake's got a little gal too.
We were talking earlier and saying when I was on the phone with Geoff, I was like, this is going to have to be more than one episode. We're going to have to do more than one episode with you guys. You know, we'll have to talk more with Jake, especially about his dancing career, because I like, you know, nothing wrong with a man who's got moves.
I mean, you're probably not seeing this live, but we could probably set this up. This is Skype. These things can go out. Jake's a fantastic dancer. We can set the stage, get it all going.
I like that. I like that. Maybe we can turn it into a fundraiser. All the money people throw at Jake will go to conservation.
Yeah, dancing for conservation.
Yeah. Like, you know what else I love? A great pair of optics. Something like Maven binoculars, which I know you both, everyone here is a fan of, correct?
Man.
Yeah, we've been blown away by it.
So, real quick, I've guided over 80 bighorn sheep in my guiding career. So, I've had to look through optics. I mean, I have grease stains on every binocular case I've ever had. You know, 12 hours a day looking through binoculars. And I put my Maven binoculars. The only reason I went to Maven and started talking to him is because one of my guides says, look through these for today. He gave me his binoculars, said, go with these today. And he took my Swarovskis. And they were clearer, and they were sharper, and they were more vibrant. And it
doesn't lie. Glass don't lie.
Today, to this day, anybody who questions me, I'm like, here's Swarovskis, here's the Mavens. Tell me which one is clearer and brighter and better looking. It's unreal.
Well, and even to that point, right? You talk about some guys, some hunters that not everybody is in the same financial category, right? I agree with you. I had some Swaros and I bought those Mavens, and I'm looking through them side by side, and I'm like, wow, these are both awesome glass, right? They are. Mm-hmm. And I was looking, and I said, but these are $1,000 less, you know? So for the guy that's wanting top quality glass, you know, there's three people right here telling you, yes, they're as good or better as the other top glass on the market at a fraction of the price because of their business model. And, you know, we've been friends with them for a while now. We had them on the podcast, Brendan, and they've agreed just because they respect what we're trying to do in our message and our listener base, and they respected that enough to give us a promo code if you're buying a full, you know, no discount. It's just, hey, if you let them know who sent you, you know, so that way we're just trying to help each other out here. You know, we're giving our honest experiences.
If it didn't work, you wouldn't use it, right? So that's the beauty of it. It works.
Exactly. And that's where, you know, you type in NBH gift, and they're going to give you some swag with the full price pair of binoculars. And did you guys see the spotters yet? You going to pick up one of those?
Yeah. At the show.
We don't have them yet, but we checked them out at the show.
Yeah. I think I'm going to run 15s this year. You know, I got to sheep hunt last year with myself here in Colorado for the first time, and I spent a lot of time behind the glass, a little bit of time with the spotter, and most time with the binos. I just was so much more comfortable with the binos. And I think once, I hope they, you know, I'm not saying anything I'm not supposed to say, but once they come out.
Yeah, Phil, you be careful. I don't want Brendan suing us for leaking stuff.
Hey, they're making progress, so it's a matter of time before they open up their product line more, and I'm just going to be the first one in line to pick up some binos if they happen to be in the 15 by category. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, and you know what else is great about Maven? They've caught on to the key to great products is having different camos on them, unlike some shoe companies I know of.
That's not endless with the swoosh.
What's that?
Not endless with the swoosh.
And also this podcast, you know, our great buddies at Mountain Ops, you know, just great, terrific guys, great company, always pushing hunting forward in a very positive light in unique ways. If you head on over there and you enter the code MBH20, they will give you 20% off of your purchase. I actually had I was feeling a little drowsy before we started this, so I just slipped a little Enduro in. I'm doing just great. You know, might just stay up and edit this. I'm feeling so energetic. And Phil's also a big fan. They will be giving away some product, I believe, at Phil's Alpha Bow Hunting Tournament, which is Memorial Weekend in Denver at his shop. So if you want to come out and test your bow hunting skills, see if you really got what it takes, you know, to hang with some of the best around in the area, check it out. Head on over to Alpha Bow Hunting. Also, check out Championship Bow Hunting Podcast, which Phil covers just a lot more technical stuff in the podcast. It's a shorter podcast, but man, he packs in some great information. I listen to him so I can educate myself. And there's not many critics tougher than Phil. He'll tear sites apart and put them back together Frankenstein style so he can get the best thing he can out there.
I've Frankenstein some stuff before. There's no joke there, but hey guys, we appreciate the time.
Real quick, Phil, what's that T-shirt? I've been staring at that T-shirt all day. What are you wearing? That looks badass.
So this is a little Colorado love, right? That's Freedom Apparel, the guys that do the print work for all my shirts at the shop and the stuff for Championship Bow Hunting. This is their logo. This is their design. We sell it at the shop. So I believe you can go to freedomapparel.com. Veteran-owned company here in Colorado, and they do screen print work. So cool
That's
company.
A badass shirt. And people, don't forget to head over to the QU Film Fest, vote for our buddies, try to support the cause. Push everybody forward we can.
So tell us more where we can find the knives.
Yes,
and
those fantastic knives.
You send me your address, and I'll send you guys knives, and you can check them out.
Awesome.
Right?
But where can everyone else check them out?
What's that?
Where can everyone else check them out?
Civilware.com.
Civilware.com.
Those look like the ones that are on the site now. Are they the same ones?
That's the same one I picked up. That was just in Jake's pocket.
Okay, and those are available now then?
Those are available right now. That's called a striker model, which is a line unlocking folding knife, kind of slim line with a short clip. 154 cm.
And Jeff, I wouldn't mind if one of those orange wax canvas hats made it to match my dunks.
We're not doing them in Realtree, just so you know.
That's fine. That's fine with me. I can't thank you guys enough for coming on the show, and I can't thank Brendan enough for actually helping me get in touch with you, because after I saw that film and saw all the cool stuff you were doing, I was like, this is the guy we need to expose our audience to. And thank you for bringing Jake along with you, who I'm sure we'll have on, maybe by himself, and maybe he'll bring you along as his guest for an episode.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Also,
thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure, man. And you will be able to find all the stuff we talked about in the show notes. I'm actually going to do a better job at that, because it's awful convenient when all this stuff is together in one place and you can go and click over on it. So I'll have the links down there. Any extra information we said we'd be in there will be in there. Also, please subscribe to YouTube, Natural Born Hunter, Instagram, Phil Mendoza, Geoff Rowley, Kiku. Is it Kiku the Instagram account? Yeah. I follow it, but I can't remember I don't know how to pronounce it.
Kika.
K-I-K-A.
Yeah.
K-I-K-A. Worldwide.
Kika Worldwide is the Instagram.
They have some great Instagram pictures. So does Civilware and Jeff's Instagram page, all the Facebook stuff. Leave us a positive rating, nice comments over on iTunes if you can. That'll help us out. I guess that's it. I think we covered everything. Hopefully no one gets in trouble for being too late. What's that?
Let us know, and we'll come on again when it's a good time for everybody.
Heck yeah.
Get a couple of beers going.
Just a couple. I'm only gonna
there you
two.
Go.
Just a couple.
And for the Natural Born Hunter podcast, wake up, chase your dreams, repeat.